I hear it all the time from folks that are in abusive relationships. They finally set a boundary with the abuser. And then the abuser, like, they move out, or they have the abuser move out, or they do a formal legal separation, or some sort of real strong boundary. Then the abuser has an epiphany, and they are going to change, and they're going to be the person that they're supposed to be, and yada, yada, yada. Um, that quote came from seeing that happen over and over again. So the abuser has a revelation, right? And they're going to change, okay? But that doesn't lead to actual transformation. What it leads to is they go to treatment, let's say, they go to counseling, let's say, and they pick up all kinds of information, and they become what I call psychologically sophisticated. And then they start using that to abuse and manipulate at a higher level. So revelation minus transformation is just another kind of manipulation. So when you're in the relationship and you're desperate for change and you see any sort of movement, you want to hold on to it. But I just want to keep stressing to folks that, look, you have to be from Missouri. Missouri is the show me state. That's their motto, right? So you have to suddenly be from Missouri, where you're going to have to show me. If I take everything you say and I set it over here, and I take everything you do and I set it over here, what I want you to do is look only at the behavior. Words don't matter, okay? So if the behavior transforms, then it's not manipulation. If the revelation leads to a behavioral transformation, then you have freedom and change and health. But if you have revelation that does not lead to behavioral transformation, just leads to moral, better words, then you're going to be manipulated. And I see it particularly in the church a lot, because the guys start using more church language. They start going to church services. They read their Bible. But in the end, they're still manipulating, self-centered. Look, somebody who gets to the place of abusing their spouse at that level is not going to change quickly, no matter who they are. So every time I see some guy who gets confronted, then has an epiphany and is totally different the next day and claims that Jesus changed him instantly, that guy's lying. That never happens. I've never seen it. And if it does, that guy would be so different, he wouldn't even know who he was. He would not have functioned, which is why God doesn't change us that way. Change is never an event. It's always a process. So you have to put your hope aside a little bit and set up for the long term. Okay? The other thing that happens then when women believe the false revelation, it's what I call living in hopium. Okay? You keep taking hopium because the hopium is keeping you from looking at the reality, and the reality is very painful. So instead of that, I'm just going to keep making excuses, giving the benefit of the doubt, hoping that it'll change next time. And in that hopium, you're elongating the process of you being harmed and whoever you're taking care of, your children. So I would really encourage you to back off on your hopium doses and increase your reality doses. And if the behavior doesn't change, don't be manipulated.